Hello, and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable interview series. And as always, I've never let you down yet. I've got an amazing guest here called Lola. So, Lola, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Lola Olatunde Ladita. I'm a biomedical scientist by profession. I'm an entrepreneur, a property investor. I'm a toxic relationship coach and mentor. I'm an editor, a publisher, and I think that's it.
Is that
No,
all?
no, I'm an independent travel agent.
Oh, my goodness. And the reason I was smiling when she was doing all of that, because we were talking about it just now, and I'm like, you're all a scientist. What? Because I know her from certain world, and it was like, what? But there you go. That's quite a list, right? You're going to make me look really bad now. So, those who don't know me, I'm Julie. I'm the founder of Millerside Therapy and Coaching, and my passion really is helping anyone out there who feels really stuck. So, what do I mean by stuck? Well, I'm talking about anxious, fearful. Maybe you've got physical conditions that are keeping you stuck and it's stopping you from moving forward. So, I love helping people to overcome stress because stress is one of the biggest killers in the world, right? And that leads to disease in our bodies. So it's all connected. And I work with the subconscious mind so that we can go really, really deep and get to the root cause of what's going on for you. So that's a little bit about me. So, Lola,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you my very famous question, which is da-da-da-da-da-da, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Wow. Being unstoppable means a lot to me. Let me take you back to 2010 when I was about to come out of my toxic relationship that I've been for 25 years. At that time, I had a very low self esteem. I was I wouldn't say depressed, but demoralized. I didn't want to do anything apart from get up, go to work. And I cut everyone off. I didn't want to see friends. I didn't want to see family. I can talk on the phone, but I don't want anybody to come near me. It was like I actually had to build a barrier. But when I was ready to actually let go, because when you think about it, what you've invested, your time, energy, money,
Mm,
all these things are not, you can't get them back, especially
mm,
time. And I said 25 years is almost 3 decades of my life. So that is half of my life that I've
mm,
invested in this relationship. And it didn't work. And I thought, you know what? You need to move on because it's like I'm hitting my head on a brick wall. And every time I keep getting, you're not good, you're not good, you're not this, you're not that. And it's sort of affected my subconscious that I have to think and rethink before I do anything. And like I said, when I was ready, I actually damn everybody. Because the thing is, from our culture, it's something you don't talk about when you are in a abusive relationship. You don't talk about it. And some of the culture as well is you don't get divorced. If you've got children, you have to stick into that relationship. And I think the day I had my freedom was the day I told myself, I don't care what anybody says. All I care about is myself. And when I started taking the steps, it was like you've been knocked down, you
mm,
flat down on the ground. You have to pick yourself up. And it's like I started learning how to walk, how to talk, how to associate myself. And when I got my freedom back, to be honest with you, all the things I've done within the space of, I'll say, 2, 3 years. I never thought I was going to do it. I never thought I was going to even write a book. I never thought I was going to be a coach and a mentor, helping people who are in similar situation. Because I realized that I've come in contact with people, and when I tell them what I do, some of them do say, "Oh my God, you're doing a great job." I found myself in that situation. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. Some of them are still in it because I've met a lady. She says she's still in it, but what she and her husband are just doing now is live a separate life, but they're still living in the same house. But for me to be able to stand or sit here and say to you, I overcame this. I didn't see the red flag. I didn't know because mine wasn't physical. It was emotional, psychological, and financial. So I couldn't actually, when it started, I didn't pull a finger on it to say I'm in an abusive relationship. If it was physical, I'd probably say, okay, yeah, and I
Mm.
need to run early.
Don't always realise it's abusive, do we? When it's
Yes.
unless
So,
it's obviously punching or hitting, it's
yes,
more obvious.
yes. So, and like I said, when I came out of it, what I've achieved in the last 3 years, I've actually had about 4 different businesses I'm doing with a full-time job.
Amazing. So before you go into all those details, though, are we saying that being unstoppable is you?
Yes, I am unstoppable
You
now.
are. You are unstoppable. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, you've started to talk about your abusive relationship, right?
Mhm.
So I want you to kind of like rewind a little bit. So let's just talk a little bit now about what you're doing right now.
Okay.
And obviously, we know now what led into that. But what I think would be nice is to just do a quick overview of what you're doing now, and then just go back a little bit and talk about how you're helping other people now based on what happened to you.
Mhm. Well, what I'm doing now is I'm trying to help people who are in an abusive relationship. There are 2 ways. Either they want to get the relationship into a healthier state, or they want to get out of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two type of people I want to help,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective of your gender, because men get abused as well,
We do.
but men don't talk about their own abuse.
Mm,
I guess because of their male ego, to say, oh, a woman is abusing you, they rather keep it quiet.
mm,
And some of the men will just walk out of that relationship and they never look back. Teenagers get abused as well in school, because if you don't join this group, you're a weakling. So they pick on them. And some of them don't speak up as well.
mm,
And at times, when you are in that situation, you keep actually giving excuses for your partner,
mm,
or you keep thinking they will change. They will change. You can't change anyone
mm.
unless they themselves realize what they're doing and they want to change.
Correct.
Then that's when the change will come.
Mm,
So I'm helping people who want to get out of toxic relationship into a better relationship or mend their relationship. And at the same time, I'm helping people because some of the people that are stuck in this abusive or toxic relationship, some of them are in there because they haven't got any finance of their own.
yeah.
They rely on the other party to provide for them. So some of them is the fear that if I leave, how am I going to cope? Where am I going to get money from?
Mm,
All these, I actually table it down with them. And there are so many businesses that you can start with less than £200.
Oh, nice. So
So
you give them ways that they can escape it by helping them financially or helping them to find financial freedom.
yes.
I like that. Mm. So what sort of is there any like pattern in the clients that you get? Are they a certain age or is it I know you said about there's youngsters as well, but in the ones that you've kind of been attracted to you, so that are they is there any commonalities in there?
Well, the ones that have been attracted to me are sort of in the late 40s, early 50s.
Mm,
And like I said, they keep thinking the other party will change, or oh, it's because we haven't got children, that's why the bond is not there, and they keep going at each other, blaming each other. Do you understand? No, none of them wanted to take responsibility
mm,
for what is going on.
mm,
Guilty party blaming the other party.
mm. And guilt is a huge thing, isn't it? Because if you're in an abusive relationship, say like take you as being the one that's abused, for example, if you've got children, then there's that
Mm,
guilt about breaking that family up. Because if you've got someone who's a narcissist or someone that is abusive, they're going to be really good at making so-called innocent party guilty, aren't they?
yeah.
They'll have a way of manipulating the situation to
Mhm.
make them come out good and to make the likes of yourself to come off as
Look
bad,
bad.
won't you?
Yeah.
Mm. So tell
And
me,
this is what I got.
mm,
Because if there is any argument, I'm being blamed, even though I'm not the one that is wrong. I get blamed for, oh, you've said something wrong, or you said it the other way around, or you didn't say it properly, or the way you said it, you snapped. So I end up being the one apologizing for
mm.
something that I haven't done wrong.
So tell me then, Lola, when you was telling your story a little while ago, and you said like after 25 years, I'd kind of had enough. What was the thing that really made you take that action at that point, as opposed to any other point in your life?
Well, I had what gave me the light bulb moment was a higher, we were in Africa, we went on holiday for Christmas, and it hired assassin to come and get rid of myself and my son.
He hired an assassin, did you say?
Yes. Yes.
Wow,
And he made sure he wasn't available that night. He wasn't around with us.
wow.
And when I called him, because I thought they were armed robbers, so when I called him, the first statement he said was, I was lucky he did not switch off his phone. Normally, when he's going to bed, he switches off his phone. But even with that, I still didn't think. At that time, the jigsaw puzzles weren't fitting into each other. But when he then said to me, I'll see you first thing in the morning, I said, okay. So morning came 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because the incident happened around 1:30.
So
So,
hang on. So how comes that you didn't get assassined? Is that not the right? Didn't get murdered, did you?
well, what happened was they came and I could hear them, but they couldn't see us.
Right.
So I will say it was God's protection over myself and my son,
Okay.
because it was a bungalow, the house, and there were two sides to it. So the side we were in was a 3 bedroom, and the other side was a 1 bedroom apartment. So my cousin and his wife were living there. So they went in there and they said to them that, oh, we were told that there are people in the main house, but we didn't see anyone. So my cousin and his wife then said to them, if there is a car outside, then there are people in. But if there is no car outside, there's nobody in. But they said to my cousin and his wife that if they go back and check and they find anyone, they'll kill them and they'll come and kill my cousin and his wife. So they came back for the second time, pulled all the curtains down and everything, but they didn't see us. We were just protected by God. And that's why they couldn't see us. So it
Wow.
was after that incident And when morning came, he didn't turn up until about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So I then said to him, have you come to see if we were dead? Because you told me you were coming in the morning. And this is almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So what took you so long? And then he said, oh, I did disturb his sleep. So when it was time for him to get up, he was tired.
So this is when
So,
you told him that there's armed robbers in the house.
mhm.
Wow.
So on my way back on the plane to England, I said, no, this is the third one.
Third what?
Third near miss death.
Wow. Do you want to share the others or not?
Yeah, well, the first one was he had HPV what virus that he infected me. But because we were doing cervical smear every 3 years, it got picked up. Because when that got picked up, because I work in the lab and that is what I do, and the sample comes to my lab, although I'm not meant to have a look at my sample under the microscope, I gave it to a colleague to look at, and they told me it was abnormal. Okay, so they asked me to repeat it in 6 months, which we normally do. So at that time, so I repeated it in 6 months, it was still the same. So I then went to one of our consultants and I said, look, I don't want to wait for another 6 months. Twice is abnormal in a year. Can you just refer me straight to colposcopy? I want treatment done straight away. So the lady said, okay. So she referred me and I went to COP. And when I got to COP, normally it's meant to be after the third one. So when the colposcopist saw me, he goes, so what are you doing here? You've only had 2 episodes. So I said, well, yeah, I know. I work in the lab. So I asked for a preferential treatment. So he goes, all right, then I'll see you. So he did the treatment. Now, if I was living in Africa and I'm being infected with that, cervical screening is not done routinely in Africa. And as you know, after a while being in your body, it could get into malignancy and then become cancerous, which might be too late to rectify. So that was the first one. The second one, he contracted STD, gonorrhea. But because I work in the lab, I knew what it was. But he went, in Africa, you can buy antibiotics over the counter. It doesn't have to be prescribed by the doctor. So he just went and started buying over the counter antibiotics. But when I saw it, I said to him, I said, no. I said, you need to go and see a doctor. You need a specific antibiotics because all that you're taking is not going to work for it. He refused to go to the doctor. And I think after 3 weeks, at this time, he started having pus coming from his penis. So at this time, I said, okay, if you're too shy to go to the doctor, I'll follow you. It was then he decided to go to the doctors. So they gave him the course of the correct antibiotics to use. So I had to, at that time, because I thought if I come to England and come and get tested, they'll ask me to bring my partner when you go to these STD clinics because they won't want to treat you alone.
Mm.
So I had to actually get myself checked back in Nigeria before I came. So I said, I want AIDS test, chlamydia test, syphilis, gonorrhea, all the tests done just to make sure that I'm all clear. So I had that done and it was all clear. So that was the second one. And then that was the second one. And then the third one was the final hired assassin.
Mm. Okay. So you come home on a flight together.
No,
He
no,
came,
no. I came home by myself.
right.
He stayed back in Africa. But it was during that journey, that 6 hours flight, I sobbed and I thought, you know what? Nobody's gonna do this for me.
Mm.
I've seen this thing? Is it when I get carried out in a bag? Is that when I'm going to let go of this thing? So I thought, okay, I need to start mapping out my plans to get out of that relationship.
And how old was your son at this point?
At that time, he was just about 16, going 17.
Okay, so he was aware of what was going on, was he?
Well, he was aware, but we never spoke about it because I was shielding him from all
Mm,
that was going
mm,
on.
mm,
And all the things he knew, he was shielding me as well from what he knew. Because when we finally sat down and spoke about it, that was when he told me how far he knew, how much he knew. And he
mm,
said, Mom, I was protecting you. And I thought to myself, this little boy was trying to protect me. And I said to him, I was protecting you as well. I didn't want to tell you that this is who your father was. I want you to see him for
mm,
who he is. So we then opened our hearts together, poured out everything in our mind. And
mm.
yeah, that was the end of that when I spoke to him about it.
Right. Okay. So you've come home, you've had your near death experience, and you're at that point now, and you're going to go, right, this is it. So when you say this is it, what were the things that you needed to put in place to get out of that relationship?
Well, what I needed to put in place at that time was because my son was studying in Nigeria, I was waiting for him to come back. Because if I'd made a move straight away, in Nigeria, father owns the child. So if I'd instigated the divorce at that time, I would lose custody of my son.
Wow. So you had a lot to lose.
Yes. So I then thought, okay, I'll wait, let him come back. And when he came back, he went to college. We were still communicating. And at that time, I was trying to get all the information I needed to make the move. So I thought I could do it in England. And I was told they need his residential address, which I don't have. I only know his office address. And they said, no, they can't deliver any mail to his office address. I said, okay, the only option I've got now is to go to Nigeria. But at that time, I was told that we have to cease communication for 2 years before we can, even though we still living in separate part of the world, if we're still communicating, we're still husband and wife. But if I want to proceed for the divorce, I have to cut communication. We don't have to speak to each other for 2 years. So I had to actually do that. And in that time, I had to look for a lawyer back in Nigeria to do all these things for me. So I spoke to him and then he took all the details and he said, it can be done. But the thing is, I will have to come to Nigeria. So
What was you doing financially at that point? Was you self sufficient or was you reliant on him?
no, no, no. I never relied on him. At that time, I only had my secular work. So I was working at that time.
Oh, you was in the lab at that point,
I
weren't
was
you?
in the lab at that
Yeah,
time. So I was working. So I was
you was all
sufficient
right.
enough for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when the lawyer took the case on, then we started proceeding after 2 years of no communication.
Hmm. Interesting, isn't it? So what next?
Well, the how will I say it? I wouldn't say the sky is my limit. My aim, because coming out of it, I've since rebuilt my life. I'm still in my day job, which I'm going to be leaving soon. I've since remarried, and I'm in, honestly, a very, very nice place. My
What,
husband,
mentally or living in? Or both?
everything, everything. My present husband actually supports what I do. We're in business together. He
Mm,
supports me to do my public speaking, my publishing of books, and my mentorship. It actually gives me more than, if there is anything after 100%, it gives it.
oh,
And that actually lets me be myself. I will say I'm sort of a butterfly that was in a cocoon, but
mm,
now the cocoon is open, so I'm now left to fly. And because I came out of this incident, I said to myself, the purpose of me being created hasn't been fulfilled. So my purpose on planet Earth is to help 10,000 people get out of toxic relationship and build
amazing.
a new life. If I can do it, anybody out there can do it. It's just sheer determination.
I love that. What emotional impact do you think that had on you?
Hmm. Honestly, it did. At the time, I didn't know that it had an effect on me. But recently, after I've remarried, and I went to see one of my friends, she's got two daughters, and one of them at that time was a teenager. When she saw me, she goes, Auntie, oh my God, you're really glowing. It looks like you're a total different person from what I used to know you in your previous marriage. She said, it looks like you're a lot happier now
Mm,
in your new relationship. And when she said it, I thought, well, she was a teenager. She was very young. So was it showing on my face that I didn't know I was carrying
mm,
about? Do you understand? And at that, then I will sort of keep to myself. And I know that that wasn't me. I'm not the type of person that will keep to myself.
mm.
I think when I get anywhere I go to, the first thing people know me for is my laughter. And even at work, when I'm not there, they tell me they miss my laugh. So it's contagious. So now I've actually, how will I say it, revisited, or I've seen the real person that I'm meant to be, and I'm living the life I'm meant to be living.
Mm. So, what gave you that belief, though? How did you? Because quite often, if someone's in relationships that are not very nice, the reason we attract those negative relationships can be because we don't necessarily love who we are inside, and then we're almost putting that vibration out there, really, that you might as well come and be horrible to me and treat me and abuse me because of unfulfilled love. Now that quite often can be because of their childhood or anything else that's going on in their life, but for whatever reason they can't always make good relationships because they don't feel good enough.
Mhm.
What would you say if you could analyze you now? What would have been your belief, and how did you overcome that? Because finding a husband as amazing as you've described him means that you're not putting that vibration out there anymore. So
No.
what did you do to love yourself?
Well, at some stage, I had to actually go to God in prayers, because it got to a stage that anybody that I come across, I want to put a barrier there.
Mm,
And it's like I want to take revenge of what was done to me on that person. And I had to actually tell myself that, you know what, this is not the way it should go, and I cannot do it myself. So
Mm,
I actually had to go to God in prayers to say, please, Father Lord, I need your help here. This is not who I am. Can you take away the bitterness? Because it's bitterness. Take away the bitterness from me. Because if I'm not careful, if I continue with that bitterness,
mm,
it will sort of form another disease in my body
absolutely.
indirectly.
Yeah.
So I had to actually go to him in prayers and say, I need help to get me out of this bitterness. And during that time, every time I remember how I was treated, tears just keeps coming, flowing. Like I'm not crying, but the tears keeps
Mm,
just keeps coming. But when I got to a stage and I realized I can talk to you like I'm talking to you now and no tears, that was when I knew I was free. And
okay.
then I'm in a better position to help other people. Because if I'm still emotional with mine, I can't help anyone because I'm going to carry my emotions into it.
Mm, like it. Absolutely. Because if we don't deal with our emotions, they stay stuck in our bodies, right? And they get stuck as trapped feelings, trapped emotions, and then they can manifest into psychological conditions like anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
but also physical conditions as well, because that's why a lot of people suffer from physical conditions because they haven't freed themselves
Mm.
from the pain.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying, isn't it? That you've kind of done work to free yourself from that pain. And it's all about forgiveness and letting go.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be hard, can't it, when you've been the victim? But actually, they don't care whether you're suffering or not, do they? They didn't care if you were
No,
suffering when they were in the relationship. So the only one you're hurting
it's
is
yourself.
yourself, isn't it? And it is, it's all part of letting go, freeing yourself from it. You don't have to tell them that you freed yourself from it, do you? But don't hold it, because
Yes.
then also that's when we don't free ourselves from those emotions or process those emotions, then that can also lead into different kinds of addictions,
Yes.
because that's when we don't want to feel it, so we use it as escapism route.
Mm.
So very much being attached to our mind and body, and understanding and listening, which most people don't, listening to what's going on in our bodies,
Mm.
then we can start going, do you know what? This is what I need to do. And in your case, it was because, as you said, you're very religious, aren't you? So that was your way of
Yes.
doing it. Some people will do their religion, some people will do the universe. It's all the same. It doesn't really matter, does it? The whole point is it's about doing whatever works for you, but making sure that you free yourself from it. And that's when I come in a lot of cases, because sometimes it's so deep within a subconscious mind that consciously you try to free yourself from it, but physically you can't always do that. So
Yeah.
sometimes people need help,
You
right?
need help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you
So
need a safe environment where
mm,
okay, if you go to and you can talk about what you're feeling, and it stays in that four
that's
wall.
right. Yeah, exactly right. So if anyone was watching it, not if, when people are watching this, sorry, mind my language, and they can resonate with the fact that they are in some kind of abusive relationship, what would be the top tips for them, and how would they recognize that they are in an abusive relationship?
Well, I'll say there's three things. It's more than three, but the three main ones that you need to um, see to identify red flags
Mm,
is when that person keeps blaming you for everything that happens.
mm,
Name calling, telling you you're not worth anything. That is one of the red flags.
mm-hmm,
And the other one is isolation. They'll try and isolate you from everyone, most
Mm,
especially your family. Because the thing is, you live with that person. So it might be difficult for you to pick it up. But when you in the midst of your family, they can easily pick it up. So they tend to isolate you,
mm,
which is one of the power for them, that they've got grip of you. You cannot
mm,
do anything without them telling you to do it. So that's another one. And the final one is, it could be financial area, that okay, they want to control the money.
mm.
Oh, you can't spend that much. Oh, you can't have that. Do you understand? So it's being in control. They take the control completely away from you.
I was going to say that all of it is about
Yeah,
control, isn't it?
control.
Yeah. Okay. So someone's listening to that and goes, I think I've ticked at least two of those. What should they do next?
Well, if they think they need help, because at times, I said earlier, not until when you are ready.
Mm,
No, no matter how much help people give you or friends tell you to do, if you yourself are not ready, you can't come out of that situation. But when they think they're ready and they need help, then help is out there. They can reach out to me on through my website, www.divineselflove.co. They can reach out to me, send me an email. There's a link there. They can click on the link and it will take them to my calendar. They can book an appointment with me. And at the back of that, when they reach out to me, I've got a free guide that I can send to them to go through first. And when they're ready to talk, then they can book an appointment.
amazing. So this is going to be though people I assume that would have potentially tried to work it out first, right? So, you know, that would be kind of when you feel like you've done everything you can and nothing's working.
Mhm.
Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to condone communication, do we? Because sometimes it might be that the other person just didn't realise and then you have it out and, you know, things can change, right? So this is when we've done all of that,
Mhm.
it's not
And nothing is
working,
working. Yeah.
yeah, and it's maybe getting worse, impacting the kids. Because that's the other worry, isn't it? About people think sometimes that kids don't notice stuff, but they do. They notice everything, even if you think you're protecting them from the arguments. And
Yep.
they're not stupid. They do see, don't they? And it's having that impact on them as well, isn't it?
Yep.
And you don't want them to have that as their learned behaviour either. So it's so complicated, isn't it? Really,
It
and
is
it's
complicated.
you
And
know, and
at times, you yourself might not know you're snapping, because the thing is, you can't take a revenge on the other party, but because you're so tensed up, so every little thing the children does, you start snapping, either
mm,
shouting or snapping or screaming at them.
mm,
And if you look at it deep down, you think they haven't done anything wrong. So why am I
mm, mm.
snapping? That's because you yourself, you're on edge.
Exactly. You're on edge all the time in that kind of situation, aren't you? Because
Yeah.
you're frightened to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, be in the wrong place. Because, like you say, whatever you do, it's always wrong, isn't it? You're doomed
Yep.
if you do, you're doomed if you don't, really. And being on eggshells like that all the time is really, really challenging.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so someone knows that they're in an abusive relationship, they can reach out to you, and I'm assuming there's loads of other places that we can maybe put in the show notes actually of other places that they can contact. But what I want you to get a chance to plug, and this is we actually met through mentoring, but more recently, very recently, was at a book boot camp, which is not easy to say, is it? I've tried it many times.
Legacy,
I have to say it
legacy,
really slowly.
no, book legacy boot camp.
Yeah, see, that's even worse. And because as you said earlier, you are an author. You have
Yes,
written quite a few books,
I
but
am.
we're at the publishing stage, right? Both of us are. We've both written. Well, I've only got one. You've got multiple. But tell us about the book that you've written about your story.
The book is called Breaking Free from a Toxic Relationship, My Journey of Liberation. So in that book, I've actually written my life story in there. And I've written it in a way that it's not just like a novel. If anybody picks up that book, there are tips in there for them, one, to recognize a toxic relationship, and two, what are the things they need to put in place if they want to get out of the relationship.
Mm,
If they want to make the relation, work on it and make it a healthier relationship, there are tips in there as well. So
nice.
it's like a comprehensive
Mm,
main book that people can pick and read. And at the back of that, I've got mini books that you can just pick up the mini one. If you want a quick read, you can
mm,
just pick up that. And then if you now want the main book, it will direct you to the main
mm.
book.
How does that make you feel knowing that you've got to that position where you've got that available now?
It's like I've got, how will I say, a food recipe for
Mm,
people out there that there are so many people that I might not be able to get to, but the book will get to them.
mm,
So I think it's a good way in writing a book because I can't reach the whole world, but the book can get to the whole world.
love that. Yeah.
And my aim is after publication and is on in all the bookstores, I want to interpret it into other languages so that the Spanish people can buy it, the French people can buy it, Asian
Mm,
people can buy it. So I want to put it into other languages that people will benefit from it. Because I
nice.
don't want to make it mainly, if it's mainly English, what about people that don't speak English?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So,
And
yeah,
the
so
aim,
that is my aim.
and as you said earlier as well, you're kind of weaning yourself off your paid job now, so to speak. But is this is that then to really launch a little bit more your coaching
Mhm.
program then, yeah?
Yes. Yes.
So do you want to do a little bit of a shout out about that?
Yeah. The coaching business is mainly, like I said earlier, to help people come out of the relationship. But I
Mm,
was thinking that this book, launching this book, plus will sort of push up the coaching business. And um, it depends because to start with, I'm going to meet people on one to one, see what their circumstances is, what do they
mm,
need. So it might be a 3 months program, or it might be a 6 months program, and it might be a 1 year program. So it depends on the individual.
mm,
So it's going to be tailored to each individual. I'm
mm,
not going to do it as a group because my challenge might be different to the other party. And it will not be nice to just group everybody together.
mm,
So it's going to be on a one to one, and I'll then give them whatever they need. If it's a 3 months, if it's a,
mm.
because some people will want to do it themselves. So there
Yeah.
will be program, there will be workshop and things like that for them.
Mm,
And if they want to work for a bit longer, there's avenue for that.
amazing. So you're really excited for that then.
I
And
honestly, I can't wait.
yeah, I really get that because once you find your purpose and passion,
Mm.
there's nothing stopping you. It does make you unstoppable, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
that's how I feel in mine. I love the fact that I can get up each day and transform someone's life. And I've changed my pattern now when I go to a network event and they go, "What do you do?" And I go, "Well, basically I save lives." And I go, "Yeah,
Oh,
pretty much." They go, Really? Yeah. But it is, isn't it? You're saving lives, I'm saving lives. But
Yeah.
I think the important thing is that help is out there in any, whether you've got money, haven't got money, there's charities out there, isn't there, that can help. But anyone who, like the people I work with, it could be down to poor relationships as well, because I know that's going to be inherent from their childhood. So you can obviously get them out of danger, and you can get them coming up with business ideas, etc., etc. If they need deep rooted stuff, then I'm your girl. So you need to refer them over to me.
All right.
Do you know what, Lola? It's been so lovely getting to know you, and we spent like a few days together, didn't we, and had little
Yeah.
conversations. It still surprises me all the time when she just throws in that, so when I'll get him to fill out a form, and it was like, I'm a scientist by profession, a toxic relationship coach and mentor, and it was like the list just goes on, doesn't it? And it's like, wow. But that is the thing, isn't it? I think once you find out who you are, and you've uncovered what you need to uncover, then you do become unstoppable.
Yes, I am unstoppable.
Exactly. Hence the name that I use all the time, from stuck to unstoppable. You were definitely stuck, and now you're unstoppable.
Unstoppable, yeah.
And you want to help other people to move from stuck to unstoppable.
Unstoppable as well, yeah.
So, Lola, thank you so much for being an amazing guest today and sharing your story. And I think you're proof there that if you're in a situation that you feel like you can't get out of, there's always, always, always a way out. It's just a case of finding the right person to help you and doing it in the right way. And it can't always be rushed. Sometimes it does have to take time and be strategic, like yours was.
Yeah.
But once you find, I think the biggest decision is making that decision, isn't it? Once you've made it, then that's almost like a weight lifts off.
Yeah.
And then you can start taking action, and doing what it is you need to do to protect you, to protect your children, and whoever else you might need to protect, right? So it is a very serious business. And yeah, so thank you for sharing your story, and we're so excited to get your book. And yeah, and we'll put all your details. We'll tag you in and all that kind of good stuff, so they'll be able to find you. So again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're so welcome. So thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you next time. Go over to my YouTube channel, Millicide Therapy and Coaching, where you can see this interview and all my others, client testimonials as well, which is amazing. So thank you very much. Take care, and I'll see you soon with my next amazing guest. Bye for now.